Hi, my name is Gary Thome, and I'm the founder of Loving Stones of Christ. I've been Catholic all my life and married for 30 years, and my wife and I have 5 beautiful children, and we've been involved in our parish for many years as well. To me, being a disciple of Christ is about following Jesus. It's about following his teachings, his example, and growing to be more like him, and in fact, growing closer to him as well. It's everything. It's not just picking and choosing which parts of his teachings that matter. It's really every single little thing. And so, if you're a disciple of Christ, you're really always looking and saying, okay, here's what Jesus did, or here's what he taught. How do I apply that to my own life? And really honestly try to live it that way. I think my earliest memories are really when I was probably 5 or 6. My dad giving me holy cards and just thinking that was so neat. Really meant a lot to me. And he taught me my prayers, my Our Father, and my Hail Mary, and things like that. In college, I started out going to mass regularly, but drifted away slowly. And even through my young adult life, I was just never really stayed that engaged with my faith. I never abandoned it completely. I always considered myself Catholic, but also didn't really get super involved in it. And it wasn't really until my 30s that I really started getting more involved. My wife wanted to learn more about faith and get more engaged in faith, and so she went through our CIA process, and she'd come home and ask me all these questions, and I didn't know the answer. So I started going with her almost just because I didn't know, and I was like, like almost as a defensive move, even trying to keep from not knowing the answers. And so I'd go with her, and what I found was just like eye-opening. Is like I had no idea how much I didn't know about my faith, and I had no idea how much I didn't really understand about my faith. And so that got me going and getting more involved in my faith after that. When our first child was young, we were invited to join a marriage ministry at our parish, and we were still not super involved in parish life at all, but we were interested in doing more. And so this marriage ministry was really just a group of young couples that wanted to get together once a month and just talk about things that were important to our faith. And we learned so much. And I remember thinking at the time, I don't know if I want to do this or not, but I know I don't want to get divorced. And I know that so many couples get divorced. And I thought, well, what harm can happen from at least doing something that really helps kind of work on our marriage in a proactive way? And of course, it wound up being much better than that. We made lifelong friends and grew so much as a couple, but also grew individually as in our faith, and grew as a community. And we, and just all these great friends that we made through this process. After that, I was invited into a small group, and it was in the small group that we were reading some writings from the popes and writing from Cardinal Ratzinger at the time before he was Pope Benedict. And I remember him talking about how the life of the Christian is not so much about following a philosophy or following an idea, but it's following a person, and the person being, of course, Jesus Christ. And that to me is like, whoa, that's like not something I thought of. I always thought it was really about following philosophy. And it was at that moment, I'd say, looking back, I probably all my life, I really considered myself a Catholic, as in I considered myself a member of the Catholic Church, the institution of the church. But I hadn't really thought about my attachment being more so to Jesus than it was to the church. And so that really changed my perspective a lot, because now I had an opportunity to think of not just being a member of the club almost, but really attached to Christ and having a personal relationship with him. And that really started the path in a more significant way of really growing in my Catholic faith, but growing as a Christian, first and foremost, a follower of Christ, a friend of Christ, and growing that way. And so that, to me, I think was probably one of my first real pivotal moments in my own experience of how to live the faith. As a disciple, I think we always have the opportunity to share that love and share our faith with others. And I found actually work and business trips and things like that were sometimes some of the best opportunities to do it. I remember one time I was on a business trip, and we'd gone out to eat, and I was didn't have a rental car, so I was riding back to the hotel with somebody else. And as we're getting into the car, the other gentleman asked me, "So Gary, it seems like nothing ever seems to bother you at work. You seem to just kind of float through everything. And why is that?" And so I said a quick prayer to myself, and I said, "Well, first off, I guess in the scheme of things, just work isn't that important compared to other things. And second, I guess I just pray a lot." And he says, "Well, you're the second person that told me that today." But as we rode back to the hotel, I realized he was an atheist, and he had had some really bad experiences with the church earlier in life and had left the church completely. And as we're sitting in the car talking uh, in the hotel parking lot, he shared a little bit of his journey, and it was remarkable how the Holy Spirit had the right words for me, every single thing he'd say. And as we walked in the hotel, I said, "Well, if you'd ever like to go to Mass, I'd be happy to take you." And a little while later, he said he'd like to go. And so we eventually made it to Mass. And then he said, "I'd really like to really reconnect with the church, and I need to reconcile with what happened in my past." And so he went down a journey of healing and allowed me to accompany him through that whole process. And it was an extraordinary gift for me to be able to really share the faith with him and share God's love with him in a way that he hadn't really experienced. Through the healing process, he became less angry, he became more open, and actually he even became more productive at work. It just, his whole life just changed through it, and it was just quite a gift in the process. I think there's a lot of aspects of discipleship, but for me, if I had to define discipleship in one word, I'd say docility. Being docile to the promptings of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit says, "Gary, I want you to do this." I've grown to really trust that prompting and just go. And sometimes people say, "Well, why are you doing this, Gary?" And I'm like, "Because the Holy Spirit told me to go do it." And I may not understand why, I may not see the big picture yet, but that's what I've learned to do. And I've learned to trust, because every time I've done that, I've seen the fruits of it afterwards. So I know that prompting is for my benefit, but it's also for the benefit of others around me. And I guess I'm not perfect at it. I'm still growing in that, but I've learned to trust that a lot.